No one remembers the exact moment they decide to take it. That's the first thing investigators noticed. Every driver who's ever reported the road, every single one, describes the same sequence of events. They're driving somewhere familiar. A route they've taken dozens of times, sometimes hundreds. Nothing unusual, nothing out of place, and then, without warning, their GPS changes, not gradually, not with a notification anyone can explain. It simply updates, recalculates, and offers a new route. A faster one. Ethan Cole didn't question it at first. He wasn't the kind of person who questioned technology. Not really. He worked with systems, algorithms, data structures, predictable things. If something updated, there was a reason. If something changed, there was logic behind it. That's what he believed. That's what he'd always believed. It was a Tuesday night, or technically, early Wednesday morning. At 12:02 a.m. Ethan had just left his office after a long shift, debugging a system error that refused to behave like it should. He was tired, but not exhausted. Focused, but distracted enough to welcome the silence of the drive home. The roads were empty. Streetlights stretched ahead in long, uninterrupted lines. His car hummed steadily beneath him, the low vibration of the engine almost hypnotic. Routine, predictable, safe. Then his GPS flickered. Just once, a brief distortion across the screen like static. Ethan glanced down. The route line shifted, bent slightly to the right. A soft chime followed. Faster route found, saving 8 minutes. Ethan frowned. There hadn't been any traffic, no alerts, no construction warnings, nothing that would justify a reroute. He tapped the screen, zoomed out. The new route diverged from his usual path about a mile ahead. A right turn, except there was no right turn there. Ethan knew that road. He'd driven it almost every night for the past 3 years. On the right side, there was nothing but dense forest. No intersections, no side roads, no entrances, just trees. Tall, packed tightly together, their branches forming a wall that swallowed the light. He'd always thought it looked strange, like the forest didn't belong there. He glanced at the GPS again, still showing the turn, still insisting. Turn right in 0.8 miles. Ethan exhaled slowly. It's just a map update, he muttered. Roads changed, new developments appeared. Maybe something had been built recently. Still, it didn't feel right. The closer he got, the more his attention sharpened. His grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly. Streetlights passed overhead in steady intervals. The road ahead remained unchanged. No signs, no markings, nothing. Turn right in 300 feet. Ethan slowed down. His headlights cut through the darkness ahead, illuminating nothing, just trees. Exactly where they should be. Exactly where they'd always been. Turn right. The instruction came calmly, confidently, as if the road were right there. Ethan's foot hovered over the brake. His eyes scanned the tree line, looking for anything. An opening, a break, a sign. Then the screen flickered again. Harder this time. The map glitched, the route line pulsed, and for a split second, the trees ahead seemed to shift. Ethan blinked, and the road was there. It hadn't emerged, it hadn't formed. It was just there, as if it had always been there. A narrow strip of asphalt cutting cleanly through the forest. No debris, no uneven edges. Perfect. Too perfect. Ethan's breath slowed. His mind tried to process what he was seeing. There had been trees. He was certain of it. He knew this road. He knew this exact stretch. There was no possible way. A car passed behind him, fast, its headlights sweeping briefly across the scene. For a moment, the road disappeared again. Just trees. Then the light moved on, and the road returned. Ethan swallowed. His pulse quickened. This wasn't right. This wasn't something that could be explained with a system update or a mapping error. Recalculating, the GPS glitched again. Then, turn right. The voice sounded different, subtle, but different, less artificial, less flat. Ethan hesitated. His instincts told him to keep driving, ignore it, go home, forget about it. But something else, something quieter, pushed back. Curiosity. That persistent need to understand something that didn't make sense. He turned the wheel. The moment his tires crossed onto the road, everything changed. The sound came first, or rather, the absence of it. The low hum of the engine faded, not completely, but enough to feel wrong. The tires no longer made contact noise with the asphalt. The faint background hiss of the night air. Gone. Ethan's eyes widened slightly. He pressed the accelerator. The car responded, but the feedback felt muted, as if the world itself had been dampened. Then the radio cut out. No static, no fading signal, just silence. Ethan reached for his phone. No signal, not even a flicker. He checked the rearview mirror. The main road should have been visible, even faintly. Streetlights, passing cars. Something. There was nothing, no lights, no road, no indication that anything existed behind him at all. Just more trees. Endless, unbroken. Ethan's chest tightened. He slowed the car slightly. His breathing became more deliberate. Controlled. "Okay," he said under his breath. "Okay. This is just—" He didn't finish the sentence because he didn't have an explanation. The road ahead stretched forward, narrow, unmarked, perfectly straight, too straight. Ethan glanced at the GPS. The map no longer resembled anything he recognized. The route line extended into a blank space. No surrounding roads, no landmarks, just a thin line moving forward into nothing. Continue for 12 miles. 12? He hadn't seen any signs. No mile markers. No indication of distance. He drove. Slowly now. Carefully. Watching everything. Minutes passed, or what felt like minutes. Time didn't feel stable here. Then he saw it. A sign on the side of the road. Old metal, slightly bent. Mile. Ethan slowed further. His eyes locked onto it as he passed. That wasn't possible. He had just entered the road. There was no way he had already traveled 12 miles. He checked the GPS, still showing distance remaining, still directing him forward. Ethan drove on. The sign disappeared behind him. Swallowed by the darkness, 5 minutes passed, maybe less. Maybe more. Then another sign, same placement, same angle, same dent in the corner. Mile 12. Ethan's breath caught. He hadn't turned. He hadn't looped. He had been driving straight, but somehow he was back at the same point. His hands tightened on the wheel. His eyes flicked to the mirrors, then forward again. The road hadn't changed, not even slightly. That's when he realized it. He wasn't moving forward, and something on this road was making sure he didn't. Continuing the same tone, pacing and escalation, Ethan didn't speed up. He didn't slow down. He kept the car at exactly the same pace, because anything else felt like panic, and panic meant mistakes. His eyes stayed fixed on the road ahead. But his mind was racing. Same sign, same damage, same position. There was no logical explanation for it. No hidden turn, no curve, no break in the road. Nothing that could explain how he'd returned to the same point without ever changing direction. Unless... Ethan shook his head. No, he said it out loud this time. Hearing his own voice grounded him. Slightly. There's a rational explanation. There had to be. There always was. He adjusted his grip on the wheel and pressed the accelerator just a little harder. The car responded. Smoothly. Silently. Too silently. That was when he noticed something else. The darkness ahead wasn't uniform anymore. At first, he thought it was his eyes playing tricks on him, the human brain trying to create patterns in emptiness. But then, he saw it again. A flicker. Far ahead, low to the ground. Lights. Ethan leaned forward slightly, squinting, trying to focus. Two faint points, perfectly aligned. Headlights. Another car. A wave of relief hit him so suddenly it almost made him laugh.
Okay, he exhaled slowly. Okay, good. Another driver. Someone else on the road, someone who could explain something, anything. He eased his foot off the accelerator, letting the distance close gradually. The lights grew brighter, clearer, steadier. But something felt off. They weren't moving. Ethan frowned, adjusted his speed again, slower now. Still, the distance didn't change. The lights stayed exactly where they were, not getting closer, not getting farther, just there. Ethan checked his speedometer.
40 miles per hour. A steady pace. He pressed the accelerator. Then 60. The engine responded. The numbers climbed, but the lights didn't move. His chest tightened again, that creeping, familiar pressure of something being wrong. Not just unusual, not just strange, but wrong. On a level that didn't follow rules, Ethan eased off the gas, back down to 40. The lights remained fixed, perfectly centered in his lane. Then he checked his mirror, and his breath stopped. There were lights behind him too. Two more, same height, same distance, same stillness. He hadn't seen them before. He was sure of it. The road had been empty, completely empty. Now, there were two sets of headlights, one ahead, one behind, both exactly the same. Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. His pulse began to pound in his ears. No. He glanced forward again, then back, then forward, still there, still unmoving, still watching. That was the feeling, watching, not approaching, not following, not passing, just watching. Ethan swallowed hard. Okay. His voice was quieter now, less certain. Okay, this is just perspective, a trick of distance, of light, of the lights flickered. Just once. Ethan froze, because for a fraction of a second, they weren't headlights, they were too round, too sharp, too perfect, and they weren't attached to anything. No car, no frame, no outline, just two circles of light, floating. Then they snapped back. Headlights again, normal. Ethan blinked. Hard. No, he leaned forward again, staring, trying to force his brain to interpret it correctly.
Headlights. Just headlights. That's all they were. But then they moved not forward, not backward, closer together, just slightly, like something adjusting its position. Ethan's breath hitched.
That wasn't how headlights behaved. That wasn't how anything behaved. He looked in the rearview mirror again. The same thing. The lights behind him shifted, not drifting, not bouncing, adjusting, like eyes focusing. The realization came slowly, then all at once. Those weren't cars. Ethan's foot slammed on the brake. The car skidded slightly, but the sound was wrong. Muted, dull. He stopped completely. The road went still, silent. The lights ahead stopped too. The lights behind held position. Everything froze. Ethan didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Seconds passed. Then the GPS crackled. A burst of static tore through the silence. Sharp, violent, out of place. Ethan flinched. The screen flickered. The map distorted. And then a voice. Not the calm, neutral tone from before. Something else. Lower, closer. You shouldn't stop. Ethan's entire body went rigid. The voice wasn't coming from the speakers, or at least, it didn't feel like it. It felt inside, You weren't supposed to notice. Ethan's hands trembled. No. Now you're part of it. The lights ahead flickered again. This time, they didn't return to normal. They stretched, pulled upward, and for the first time, Ethan saw what they were attached to. A shape. Tall, too tall, standing in the middle of the road, perfectly still, watching him, and behind him, the same thing, another shape, blocking the way back. Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. The road wasn't looping, it was closing. Ethan didn't move. He couldn't. The shapes stood motionless. One ahead, one behind, too tall, too still, too wrong. The lights, those perfect circular lights, were no longer just light. They were part of them, embedded, fixed where eyes should have been, and they were staring directly at him. Ethan's fingers tightened around the steering wheel until his knuckles turned pale. His breathing became shallow, measured, forced. Think. He whispered it to himself, barely audible. Think. There had to be a way out. There was always a way out. The road couldn't just trap him. That wasn't possible, not physically, not logically. But nothing here was following logic anymore. The GPS crackled again. Ethan flinched. The screen flickered violently, lines distorting, map breaking apart into fragments of light. Then it stabilized. The blank map returned, but this time something new appeared. Ahead, a split. The straight road he had been on no longer extended forward. Instead, it ended, replaced by two diverging paths. A fork, left and right. No signs, no markings, no indication of where either one led. Just darkness. Ethan stared at it. His heart pounded harder now. Not from fear alone, but from the realization. This wasn't random. This wasn't chaos. There was structure here. Rules, a sequence. First the turn, then the silence, then the loop, then the watchers, and now a choice. The voice returned, clearer this time.
Closer. You can still leave? Ethan's eyes darted to the GPS. The words didn't appear on the screen. They weren't part of the system, but you have to choose correctly. Correctly? Ethan's voice cracked. His gaze shifted between the two roads.
They looked identical. Same width, same darkness, same unnatural stillness. There was no difference, no clue, no indication of which one was correct. That's not a choice, he said. His voice was steadier now, forced into control. That's guessing. Silence that followed was heavy, pressing. Then a response. Yes. Ethan froze because the voice didn't sound distant anymore. It sounded like it was right next to him, inside the car. That's the point. The shape ahead shifted, not walking, not stepping, but changing. Its outline distorted slightly, like something adjusting its form. Ethan's pulse spiked. The shape behind him did the same, mirroring it. The road wasn't just closing, it was waiting for him to decide. Ethan's eyes flicked back to the fork. Left, right. He forced himself to breathe. In, out, think. What had happened so far? The loop, the repetition, the same sign. The road didn't want movement, it wanted something else. Recognition, understanding, or obedience. Ethan's jaw tightened. No, he said it quietly, but firmly. I'm not playing along. The lights ahead flared slightly. The voice didn't respond immediately. Then, you already are. The dashboard flickered. The temperature dropped suddenly.
Ethan felt it immediately. A cold that wasn't just physical, but deeper. The kind of cold that settles into your chest. His breath became visible. Inside the car, that wasn't possible. The windows were closed, the system was running, but the air was changing.
The shapes moved again, closer this time, not by stepping forward, but by reducing the distance, like space itself had shifted. Ethan's heart slammed. They're getting closer. Time is running out. The voice again. Ethan looked back at the fork. His thoughts raced. If this was a system, then it had rules. And if it had rules, then it could be understood. The loop, the repetition, the same mile marker. The road repeated when he stayed on it. So maybe moving forward wasn't the answer. Maybe the correct path wasn't about direction, but about breaking the pattern. Ethan exhaled sharply. He made his decision without giving himself time to doubt it. He turned the wheel, left. The moment the car crossed onto the new path, the shapes disappeared. Not fading, not retreating, gone instantly. The silence deepened, even more than before. The road narrowed. The trees on either side leaned inward, closer, tighter. Ethan's headlights barely reached ahead now. The darkness felt heavier here, denser, like it was absorbing the light. The GPS remained silent. No instructions, no distance, no voice. Just the road. Ethan swallowed. Okay. His voice sounded smaller now. You chose. The voice returned. But this time, it sounded different.
Not warning, not guiding, almost interested. Let's see if you understand. A low fog began to roll across the road. Thin at first, barely noticeable. Then thicker. Ethan slowed the car. Visibility dropped. The beam of his headlights scattered through the mist,
turning everything into blurred shapes, indistinct. And then he saw them. Figures, standing along the sides of the road, dozens of them, perfectly still, facing away from him. Ethan's breath caught. They weren't the same as before. These weren't tall. These looked human, normal height, normal shape. But something about them felt off, wrong. Ethan drove slower now, barely moving. As he passed the first figure, it didn't move, didn't react, just stood there. Then, as his car moved past, its head turned, slowly, too smoothly until it was facing him. Ethan froze. The face, there was no face, just darkness, where features should have been. Another figure turned, then another, until every single one of them was watching him, and none of them had faces.
Ethan's grip tightened. His heart pounded violently. "Keep driving!" he whispered it to himself. "Don't stop!" But the road ahead was changing. Again, the fog thickened, and somewhere in it, something moved. Ethan didn't stop. He couldn't.
Every instinct in his body was telling him to slam the brakes, turn around, do anything. But he already knew. There was no turning around. The faceless figures lined both sides of the road now, dozens, maybe more. Standing at equal distances, perfectly spaced, like they had been placed there. Waiting. Ethan kept his eyes forward, but he could feel them, every single one of them, watching. The fog thickened further, pressing in, reducing the world to a narrow tunnel of dim light. The road felt tighter now, smaller, like it was closing in. Another figure stood ahead, closer to the road this time, closer than the others. Ethan slowed slightly. Not by choice, his foot just eased off the pedal. As he approached, the figure didn't turn immediately. It waited, and then, at the exact moment his headlights reached it, its head snapped toward him. Faster than the others. Too fast. Ethan flinched, and for a split second, he saw something different, not just darkness where the face should be. Movement.
Inside it, like something was trying to form, trying to remember what it used to be. Ethan's breath hitched. "No?" He shook his head slightly. "Don't look. Just drive." The figure remained still after that, watching him pass. But this time, something changed.
It moved, not walking, not stepping, but shifting. Closer to the road, Ethan's pulse spiked. The others followed, one by one. Each figure leaned forward, not aggressively, not quickly, but intentionally, as if they were drawn to him. The voice returned, soft, almost quiet. They chose too. Ethan's throat tightened. What? Not all of them chose correctly. His grip on the wheel tightened. What happens if you choose wrong? Silence for a moment. There was no response. Then, you already saw. Ethan's mind raced. The loops, the repetition, the watchers, the figures, they're stuck here. The fog shifted, and this time it didn't just obscure the figures, it revealed something else behind them, shapes, not standing, collapsed.
On the ground, Ethan's breath caught. Bodies, or what used to be bodies, still unmoving. Some partially faded into the road itself, like they had been there. Too long? Ethan's stomach dropped. They didn't leave. No, the voice sounded almost certain. Final. They stayed. Ethan's eyes flicked from one figure to another, each one standing, each one watching. None of them moving. They're not alive. They're not gone either. Ethan's chest tightened. That was worse, much worse.
The road stretched ahead, still narrow, still endless. But something was changing again. The fog began to thin. The figures stopped leaning, stopped shifting, and slowly, one by one, they turned away, back to the darkness, as if they had lost interest.
Or as if something else had taken it. Ethan looked forward and saw it. The road ended. Again, another opening, another break. But this time, it wasn't a fork, it was a circle, a wide clearing, perfectly smooth, and at the center, something stood.
Not a figure, not a shape like before, something else, something larger, and it was moving slowly. Ethan's hands trembled. The car rolled forward, pulled by something he couldn't explain. The voice returned, clearer than ever, right beside him. This is where they stopped. Ethan swallowed hard. What is that? The thing in the center shifted, its outline distorted, like it wasn't meant to be seen clearly. This is where they didn't finish. Ethan's breath became uneven. Finish what? The voice didn't answer immediately. The car continued forward, closer, closer, until Ethan realized the road hadn't ended. It had brought him here on purpose. The thing in the center moved again, and this time it turned toward him. Ethan didn't breathe. The thing in the center of the clearing turned slowly, not like a person, not like anything alive. Its shape didn't rotate, it rearranged, like pieces of it were shifting into place, trying to form something recognizable, trying and failing. Ethan's hands trembled on the wheel. What is that? The voice answered immediately this time. It's what's left. Ethan's chest tightened. Left of what? Silence. The car kept moving forward, not accelerating, not slowing, just continuing, as if it had already decided. Ethan pressed the brake. Nothing. The pedal went down, but the car didn't respond.
His pulse spiked. No, no, no. He pressed harder. Still nothing. The car wasn't under his control anymore. The clearing expanded around him. The trees pulled back, creating a perfect circle of open space. And at the center, that thing. It moved again. This time, it stepped forward, or at least it tried to. Its form collapsed slightly, then reformed. As if movement wasn't natural to it anymore. Ethan's breath shook. What is it? The voice didn't hesitate. It's someone who stopped.
Ethan's mind snapped to attention. Stopped? Someone who reached the end and didn't finish. Ethan's stomach dropped. This is the end? No. A pause. This is where people think it ends. The car rolled closer. The thing in the center lifted, something, an arm or something shaped like one. It pointed, not at Ethan. Behind him, Ethan's heart slammed. Slowly he turned his head, and his entire body went cold. The road was gone, not faded, not hidden. Gone. Behind him was nothing but trees, solid, unbroken, no path back, no way out. Ethan snapped forward again. No, that's not possible. You can't go back. The voice again. Not once you've come this far. Ethan's grip tightened violently. Then what am I supposed to do? For the first time, the voice didn't answer immediately. Instead, the thing in the center moved again. Closer now, Ethan could see it more clearly. Or, at least, he could see what it was trying to be. A person. Or what remained of one. Fragments. Parts of a body, but not connected correctly, not aligned, like something had tried to rebuild a human from memory and got it wrong. Ethan gagged slightly. That was someone. Yes, the voice was quieter now. Just like you. Ethan's heart pounded violently. What happens if I stop? The thing in the center twitched. Then, for the first time, it spoke, not clearly, not fully, but enough. A broken sound, a voice that didn't hold together. Don't. Ethan froze. The voice came again from the thing, strained. Don't. Stay. Ethan's chest tightened. It was warning him. The thing, whatever it was warning him. The voice in the car spoke over it. Sharper now. It's confused. It didn't complete the road. Ethan's breathing became erratic. What does that mean? Silence. Then you have to finish. The clearing began to change. The ground beneath the car shifted. Subtly at first, then more. The surface stretched, extended, forming something new.
A continuation, a road, straight ahead, beyond the thing. Ethan's eyes locked onto it. That's the end? That's the way out. Ethan looked back at the thing. It shook, its form breaking slightly, trying to move, trying to reach him. Don't. The broken voice again. Weaker now! Don't go! Ethan's heart pounded. Why not? The thing didn't answer. It couldn't. It barely held itself together. The voice in the car spoke again. Calm, controlled, because it stayed. And it doesn't want you to leave.
Ethan's thoughts raced. Or maybe, he swallowed, maybe it knows something you're not telling me. Silence. For the first time, the voice didn't respond. That alone told Ethan everything. The road ahead stretched into darkness. Still, silent. Waiting, Ethan looked at it. Then at the thing, then back at the road. He had a choice. Not left or right this time, but something worse. Trust the road, or trust what it leaves behind. His hands trembled. The car began to move again. Forward, toward the final stretch, and Ethan realized this wasn't about finding the exit. It was about deciding what he was willing to become to reach it. The car didn't wait for Ethan to decide. It moved, slowly at first, then steadily, forward, toward the road that had just formed. Ethan's hands stayed on the wheel, but he knew. Now, control was an illusion. The thing in the clearing let out a broken sound behind him. Don't! It tried to follow. Its form stretched, pulled forward unnaturally. But it couldn't leave the center. It collapsed slightly, reformed, trapped. Ethan looked at it one last time, and then he faced forward. The new road was different. Wider, smoother, not like the others. No fog, no figures, no loops, just a straight path into darkness. The silence remained, but it felt less oppressive, almost calm. The GPS screen flickered back to life. The map was still empty, but a single line appeared. Straight ahead. Continue. Ethan swallowed. That's it? No response, no instructions, no warnings, just the road. He drove. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time didn't feel stable anymore. The darkness ahead began to thin. Not like fog, not like before. This was different. It looked like light. Faint at first, then stronger. Ethan's chest tightened.
An exit, it had to be. The road began to widen further, edges becoming clearer, defined. And then, for the first time since he had turned, he saw something familiar. Streetlights, distant but real. Ethan's breath caught. No way. The car continued forward.
Closer. Closer. The light grew brighter, the silence lifted slightly, the air felt normal. Ethan felt his control returning, his foot pressed lightly on the brake. This time, the car responded. He slowed, heart pounding. The end of the road was just ahead.
And beyond it, a normal highway, cars passing, headlights moving, life continuing. Ethan let out a shaky breath. I made it! The car rolled forward and stopped, just before merging. Ethan frowned. Why am I stopping? The GPS flickered one last time.
Then the voice returned. Clear. Close. You can leave. Ethan's grip tightened, but a pause. Then, someone has to take your place. Ethan froze. What? His eyes snapped to the rearview mirror. The road behind him was still there.
Not gone, not hidden, still open, still waiting, and far in the distance, he saw headlights, another car approaching. Slowly, Ethan's pulse spiked. No? You weren't chosen, the voice continued. You chose. The headlights grew closer.
The outline of a car forming behind them, a driver inside, unaware. Ethan's breathing became uneven. What happens if I just leave? Silence. Then, you won't. Ethan's jaw tightened. I can. No, a beat. You can't. Ethan looked forward. Freedom was right there. The highway, the lights, the world. Normal. Then he looked back again. The approaching car slowed, just slightly, as if something ahead had caught their attention. Ethan's chest tightened. They're going to turn. Yes. The voice didn't sound threatening anymore. It sounded certain, just like you did. Ethan's grip on the wheel trembled. Then stop them. Silence. Tell them not to turn. Nothing. Ethan's heart pounded harder. Tell them! The headlights flickered. For a split second, they weren't headlights, they were circles. Perfect. Watching. Ethan froze. They're already seeing it. Yes, the voice again, just like you did. The realization hit him slowly, then, all at once, this wasn't a trap.
It was a system, a cycle. The road didn't take people, it replaced them. Ethan looked at the highway ahead, then at the road behind, then at his hands, still gripping the wheel, still in control, but not really. Why me? A long pause. Then because you noticed.
Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. The approaching car was closer now, almost at the turn, almost at the point where the road would appear, just like it had for him. Ethan exhaled slowly and made his choice. The car shifted, turning away from the highway, back toward the road. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world changed again. The highway vanished, the light disappeared, the silence returned. But this time, it felt different. Still, complete. Ethan drove forward. Slowly, deliberately. The road accepted him. Behind him, the new driver reached the turn and saw the road for the first time at exactly 12:03 a.m. final lines for narration impact. No one remembers deciding to turn, not the first time, not the second, and never the last, because the road doesn't force you to stay. It just waits for someone who notices too much and chooses not to leave.
Did the story send chills down your spine? And from which city are you tuning in tonight? Let's meet in the comments. If you enjoyed this dark tale, you can support me with a super thanks so I can keep uncovering more gripping true crime stories for you. Thank you so much for your support. It helps me bring even more suspenseful narratives to life. I'm looking forward to your thoughts on this mystery. There's a lot more waiting for you on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next chilling story with intrigue and respect.